It's extremely grueling. We always say that we stretch you to the point where we can see all your holes.
Point of fire there. Give me rapid.
The Joint Readiness Training Center rotation is like a cricket bat in the face over and over again.
What's that right?
I'm Sian Grzeszczyk, and I'm joining the Welsh cavalry as they spend 12 days in what's known as the Box, a feared training area that's been used to test troops to their limits for decades. It looks like a village, but it's not really. It's on a military base in Louisiana, and all of the people here are playing roles. When the soldiers arrive in a made-up scenario, they have to make things as real as possible for them. But not all of them are actors. Many did the roles they're playing here in real life. Just like Bruce and Mike.
So I was a special agent with Diplomatic Security, which is part of the State Department, U.S. Department of State. And my overseas title was Regional Security Officer, RSO.
I was U.S. Ambassador to Zimbabwe from 2012 to 2015, and then sort of the number 2 in Washington for State Department's African Affairs.
The level of detail is incredible. All of this has been made specifically for the exercise.
In this rotation, I'm playing the county governor, so I'm sort of the senior-most local official in this county, Kronoberg County, where we've had an invasion by a hostile neighboring country, and the Americans and the Brits are part of an international coalition to come in and push the invaders out. But they've got to be nice to me. They've got to respect me. I'm a slightly prickly character. I'm very status conscious and very concerned about anything that might undermine my authority as the governor of this county. So I'll be looking for opportunities to make sure that they understand that they've got to stay on the good side of the local authorities.
The idea, I think, behind the way this scenario is developed is that the Army units, many of them, are forced to deal with civilians. That may be the first time that they've ever dealt with an ambassador or consul general or gone into a consulate anywhere in the world. So the Army very often is coming in to sort of help us keep the embassy or the consulate open, and we rely on the military to augment the embassy or the consulate security. So there's a lot of coordination. They may have to evacuate us. We're civilians, so it's different than a military unit. They all work off the same script. And then when we come in, we have a different script. And our guys maybe don't know how to drive in a tactical formation. Perhaps the one that was most fun for me, probably not so much for the soldiers, is during the evacuation of the consulate. They really didn't coordinate the plans very well. So they sort of got lost, and then they stopped on the side of the road, and they had the ambassador and all these non-combatant role players parked right next to a couple of fuel trucks. And I said, this isn't going to work. The enemy has artillery and mortars and guns. They hit that fuel truck, there goes the ambassador and the consul general. So I said, we either move now or I leave on my own. And they couldn't get organized quick enough, so we just left on our own.
Well, some of my military friends have told me that it is not fun to come to JRTC, to come to Fort Polk, because there's no way they can possibly win. The deck is always stacked against them. I think the philosophy is humans learn better from their mistakes and failures than they do from successes. So we work hard to ensure failure.
And there's a real art to diplomacy. Can you give us an example of perhaps the worst thing that you've seen in terms of them getting it all wrong?
One of the lieutenant colonels who was being trained out here spoke to the United Nations, spoke to the international organizations in a really peremptory way. He failed to understand that these organizations could take some of the burden off of his back, that they could take care of internally displaced persons or problems with sanitation or water. And he basically wanted to command them the way he commanded his own soldiers. And the negative effect was stark. They basically refused to deal with him any longer. And part of my job was to essentially tell him that he needed to send his deputy to meetings rather than go himself, because the way he interacted with people just wasn't effective.
Before I leave so they can prepare for the exercise, Mike wants to show me something important, a memorial to a friend of his who trained here many years ago.
You can't come to this training area, certainly not this town, without making a stop and taking a look at this memorial. I certainly never come through here without coming by here. I'm sure you remember the movie Black Hawk Down, maybe you read the book. The iconic scene in my mind was the Black Hawk and the two Delta operators that fast roped in to rescue the downed Black Hawk pilot. Those two guys won the Medal of Honor, which is the highest medal U.S. service members can win. Obviously, tragically, they both died that day. Tell you what a small world it is. Randy Shugart and I worked together during the Salvadorian War in El Salvador, protecting the American ambassador, protecting the embassy. Good guy, quiet guy, real professional. And so whenever I come here, I stop by and pay my respects.
And so he trained here, and that's why the memorial is here?
That's my understanding, yeah. Well, we worked together for several months. I don't think I taught him much. Maybe how to survive inside an embassy, which is full of diplomacy and good manners and guarded conversations. But I learned a lot from him. I learned how to shoot. I learned emergency medicine, tactical type stuff. But he was a real quiet guy, but always there, always willing to help. Yeah, it was a real loss.
The significance of this vast training area is clear. It's seen millions of US soldiers pass through here since before World War II, and it will continue to train the next generation of troops, preparing them for future conflicts. Sian Grzeszczyk, Forces News, Fort Polk, Louisiana.